If you think Diddy and Epstein are the worst celebrities in the world, then you probably don't know the dark side of Melanie Martinez. Her horrible crimes will shatter everything you know about your favorite celebrities. It's absolutely unbelievable how she went from an innocent girl who appeared on The Voice to being exposed as a rapist who raped her own best friend.
Nice to know ya, let's do it again. How we did it in a one night stand. Maybe wanna be more than a friend. Do ya?
But the story doesn't end there. Melanie has also been accused of promoting child pornography through her music and art. Yet, instead of being accountable for her actions, she's always using her toxic fans to attack anybody who speaks against her.
I suddenly had thousands of hate accounts dedicated to me, thousands of dislikes and negative comments on all of my music, and completely ridiculous fabricated stories of me being posted online.
Need more people be sending me more death threats and more things, which I have no idea even how that is the response to asking someone to leave you alone.
This video will expose the whole truth about Melanie Martinez that her fans are desperately trying to cover up. Speaking of cover up, you probably never knew that Melanie once sang a horrible song about a 5-year-old girl having sex with several adult men.
Normal sleep for me, but how will my friends understand? I'm 5 years old, sleeping with a million men. Hey, hey, hey.
In the chorus of the song, she said, "It's normalcy to me, but how will my friends understand? I'm 5 years old sleeping with a million men." What a horrible thing to say. Melanie wrote this horrible song in 2013, but you've probably never heard of it because she never released it officially. However, she has performed it many times in small clubs and at local events. The song is about a little girl named Maggie, who was sold into the sex trafficking trade by her mother. Melanie said she got the inspiration to write this song after watching a documentary about sex trafficking.
See a lot of documentaries about it and stuff. It's really sad. So I wrote a story. Basically, it's like a story, and I call it more a story than a song just because the lyrics kind of go through the whole girl's life. So
at first, it may seem like she's trying to raise awareness to issues like sex trafficking of children, but when you listen to the song, you'll soon realize that she's actually romanticizing the sexual abuse and trafficking of children.
Why do I have to somebody who does me an old man? They cut me up in places I don't even understand. No one speak to me, but how will my friends understand? I'm 5 years old, sleeping with a million men. Hey, hey, hey.
It's crazy that she's been doing something so controversial since 2013. It's enough to make anyone wonder, how did someone like that become so popular, and why has she been getting away with it for so long? To answer these questions, let's take a quick look at Melanie's history and her journey from being a nobody to a highly controversial musician. Long before the world knew her name, Melanie was already turning heads in the quiet suburban town of Baldwin, New York, after winning her high school's talent show as a sophomore.
hi, I'm Melanie Martinez. I'm 16 years old and I go to Baldwin Senior High School and I live in Baldwin, New York.
Riding on that success, she competed in MSG Varsity Talent Show the following year as a solo vocalist. Fortunately, Melanie made it through the first round of the competition by performing the Beatles' version of Money, That's What I Want.
The best things in life are free. You can keep them for the birds and the bees. Now give me money. That's what I want.
During this performance, you can see her playing the tambourine with her feet at the same time she's playing the guitar and singing. Perhaps it is fortunate that she didn't win. That's because Melanie took that failure as a challenge to get even better, leading her to continue pursuing her dreams on a bigger stage. See, Melanie had decided to make singing her career when she was just 14 years old, and she wasn't about to let that rejection stop her.
I always loved singing since I was really small, and I wrote a bunch of poetry growing up, and then when I was 14, I taught myself how to play guitar just so I could write songs because I really wanted to. And yeah, so I guess when I was maybe 14, 15 is when I really was getting really into it and started thinking about it as an actual career.
Later that year, she appeared on the show that gained her national recognition, the singing reality competition TV series, The Voice. During her audition, Melanie captured the hearts of the audience and the judges with her beautiful voice. She performed Britney Spears' hit song, Toxic, in her own unique way.
See, I'm calling a guy like you, should warning. It's dangerous, now I'm falling. There's no escape, and I can't wait. I need a hit, baby, give me it. You're dangerous, now I'm loving it.
She showed off her talent on national television by playing the guitar and tambourine at the same time she's singing, which blew everyone's mind off. This is what one of the judges had to say about her.
I was hearing a unique artist that doesn't sound like anybody else, and then I turn around and I see you, and you don't look like anybody else I've ever seen, and you're up there, you're playing the tambourine with your damn feet, while you're playing the guitar, and you're singing so amazing. I think you're a star. I really do.
Unfortunately, despite her undeniable talent and distinct style, Melanie didn't make it to the final round of this competition either. Instead, she was eliminated as the 6th runner-up.
The first person America is sending home tonight is... Melanie Martinez. Thank you for your time, season 3 of The Voice. Give her a round of applause. Give me a few final words.
I'm just so thankful for this opportunity. I never expected to get this far, and this is beyond, what I've ever dreamed. And I'm just so happy I got to express who I am as an artist and really touch people's hearts, because that was the ultimate goal. And I love all of you who have supported me this far. I'm just so grateful for all of you. I love you.
Give it up for her. She's been incredible on the show, Melanie Martinez.
Unlike many other artists who fade away into the shadows after appearing on The Voice, that was not the end for Melanie. Despite her delicate frame, she's tenacious. She refused to give up on her dreams, doubled down on her career, and went on to become a star. After her elimination from the show, she put the pen to paper and started working on original material independently and performing at local events. That was until she dropped her first official release single, Dollhouse. Dollhouse was packed with such brilliance that it caught the attention of Atlantic Records, leading to a recording contract. Just listen to what the group chairman of Atlantic Records said about meeting Melanie. She walked in, and she was wearing this baby doll dress. Her hair was 2 different colors. She was wearing a crazy-looking necklace made from doll parts, and she had made a video for her song Dollhouse by pulling in every favor she could get. It was such an impressive commitment, and it was all her vision. Shortly after signing a record deal with Atlantic Records, Melanie released her debut EP, also titled Dollhouse. The EP had just 4 songs, but it was well received by fans and critics. It also made it to Billboard's Heat Seekers album chart, sitting, spending 13 whole weeks on the chart and peaking at number 4. Since then, Melanie's career has been on a steady upward trajectory. Though controversy has become a recurring theme in her journey, it has done little to slow her rise. In fact, at the time of this video, she has released 3 successful albums, written and produced 1 movie, which she also starred in, and toured numerous countries across North America, Europe, and Asia. At her core, Melanie has always been an artist, and her professional journey over the years has been a reflection of that.
It's interesting, when I write music, the visual is always first.
Her music career didn't start with the competitions or talent shows she participated in. It began when she was just a kid, writing song lyrics as poems before she started singing.
Well, I used to write poems when I was younger, and that's very similar to writing songs. It's basically the same to me. It's just adding music and all that.
What's more impressive is that she never attended any musical classes. She honed her singing talent through self-practice, and also taught herself to play the guitar. This makes it a more spectacular feat that she could play 2 different instruments simultaneously with her hands and feet while she's singing.
I've never taken any classes for anything. Guitar, singing, nothing. I kind of just picked it up. I learned how to play guitar myself, and I've been singing ever since I was really little.
To top it all, her artistry isn't limited to simply making music. Melanie has always had a thing for visual arts, like photography.
What inspired your love of photography?
My photo class in my school, my photo teacher, she was very encouraging with it.
Do you have some of your photography you're going to show me?
Yes, I do actually.
What do you like to shoot?
Conceptual portraiture, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's a real artist over there. Where does she get all this?
It's just a gift.
Really?
In an interview with Billboard, she was asked what she would be if not a musician, and she replied, "Probably the other things that I also do. LOL, designer, photographer, filmmaker, tarot card reader. Similarly to the uniqueness of her music, Melanie's artistry is unlike your regular visual arts or expression. She has always been drawn to and inspired by whimsical and eerie imagery. She said this in an interview where she was asked about her inspiration for arts.
I also love, surrealist kind of art and film as well. So I'm into all of the magical, whimsical stuff.
Yeah, no, and this certainly.
She doesn't just reflect this in her music and artistry, she fully embodies it, turning it into both her brand and her identity. For instance, consider her transformation from her natural appearance in this video to the split-dyed hairstyle that became one of her most recognizable features by the time she appeared on The Voice. Unbelievably, Melanie has confessed that this transformation was inspired by this character, Cruella de Vil, from the cartoon 101 Dalmatians.
Let me bleach my hair. So I told her one day I was watching 101 Dalmatians and I was like, Mom, I'm gonna dye my hair like Cruella de Vil, and she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah, I am. And I went to the salon like the next day and I called her while I was in the chair. I was like, I'm getting my half of my hair blonde, and she was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah, I am. And then I came home and she didn't talk to me for like a week. But
weirdly, not only is Cruella a villain in that movie, but she's ranked as the most evil villain in Disney movies and one of the greatest movie villains of all time. Even the dogs in the movie knew.
It's her. It's that devil woman.
While some people might have raised eyebrows that Melanie drew inspiration from that character to build her visual identity, the fans didn't care. They love her like that, with some even going as far as split dyeing their hair to look like their idol. However, Melanie did not stop at just changing her hair color. She's also known for pairing her two-toned hairstyle with retro BB doll dresses with eerie undertones. As a result of her love for the visual arts, she elevates her music with striking visual narratives, using costume, color, and cinematic aesthetics to give each song a distinct artistic identity. You can witness her creative genius in how she turned her first album, Cry Baby, into a storybook.
I think I heard somewhere that you're turning Cry Baby, like the album, into a storybook. Can you tell me about that?
well, the actual physical album is a storybook.
Okay.
So yeah, so like all the CDs that like people can get at the show tonight are storybooks. So you can flip it. It's like literally a book, and you can.
With her second album, K-12, she blew everyone's minds by writing and directing a movie which featured the entire album. She wanted to do the same with her third and latest album, Portals, but it seems the record label didn't approve the funding required for it.
Also, another question, a Portals film, everyone's like, is there an update? Is that going to happen?
Yes, so, everything is just waiting on funding and partners and whatnot, so still just waiting.
While her bold artistic choices have carved a unique space for her in the music industry, they've also drawn intense scrutiny, as some see her visuals not as boundary-pushing, but as deeply unsettling or dangerously suggestive. The most notable example is the allegation that her art promotes child exploitation by evoking imagery resembling CSAM. CSAM stands for Child Sexual Abuse Material. It is otherwise known as child pornography and refers to any form of art or media that depicts the sexual exploitation or sexual abuse of children. And now you might wonder, why is this term being associated with Melanie Martinez? Well, that's because she released a coloring book in 2016 that had images such as this, and this. For those who see nothing wrong with these pictures at first glance, let me explain why people are having problems with them. This first image obviously doesn't need much explanation. The depiction of this little kid with the F word right above her head is highly inappropriate, especially because the word is a vulgar term for sex. In this second image, you can see the kid in a tub eating soap while crying. And while it may look innocent at a glance, I will explain to you why people think everything is wrong with it. Firstly, do you notice the expression on her face? The way she's looking up with teary eyes and a bar of soap in her mouth? Some have described her expression to be ahegao. Ahegao is used to refer to the facial expression of women during sexual arousal or an orgasm. It involves rolling or crossed eyes, protruding tongue, drool, and slightly reddened face to show enjoyment or ecstasy. This is what ahegao looks like. Now compare that with the innocent-looking girl in the bathtub. Doesn't look so innocent now, does it? In this third image, a wolf is carrying the little kid against her will, and he's holding an ice cream. The part of this image that people find troubling is how he's holding the ice cream. In a way, this looks like he's inserting that into, you see the way he carries her. Although there are other images in the book, like this, and this, which people have also raised concerns about, the first three I mentioned are the major ones used in the accusation that Melanie was depicting CSAM in the coloring book and exploiting child abuse. Check out these comments that people have made regarding the images. Someone said, "This is gross, especially the wolf and bath ones." Someone responded, "The wolf one literally made me gasp." Another Redditor replied, "The wolf one is disgusting and suggestive. Awful." Another person also agreed, saying, "I thought the bath one was bad, but the wolf, gross." However, these images were not just gross or disgusting. Some victims of child abuse have also spoken out on how triggering it is for them. One commenter said, "The bath one genuinely makes my stomach turn. The expression, something in her mouth, the feet out." As a survivor of childhood abuse, it's insanely triggering. People agreed to that comment saying, "Felt so uncomfortable seeing it," and the tears in her eyes. This is fucked up. Someone even went as far as saying, "I find the soap in the mouth extremely triggering. Looks like child abuse." And these were not the only comments calling these images out for being sexually suggestive and promoting child abuse. Unfortunately, all these allegations have amounted to nothing but an online debate between Melanie's hardcore fans and the concerned public. Despite the buzz around the coloring book, the government bodies responsible for monitoring CSAM have been oddly quiet. Actually, there might be a valid explanation for that. It all boils down to one question. Is it really CSAM, or are people misinterpreting the art? Before I go further, let me say that I am not supporting or against Melanie Martinez. Neither am I downplaying the trauma suffered by victims of child abuse. Everything you're about to hear is objectively factual. First, let's have a closer look at what qualifies as CSAM. CSAM includes several forms of media, such as photographs and videos that show children being used or exploited, live streams that can facilitate real-time abuse, AI-generated imagery and drawings and illustrations depicting minors in contexts, even if real children are not involved. Knowing this, let's return to the Cry-Baby coloring book. Are these images sexually explicit? The answer to that is no. Are these images sexually suggestive? The answer to that is, well, it depends on your interpretation. While these images trigger some people, especially victims of child abuse, some people just don't see the suggestive content. Some think these images are just as innocent as they look. Maybe that girl is just eating soap in the tub. You know how children put everything in their mouth. Maybe that wolf is just holding an ice cream with no evil intentions, even though he's kidnapping a child, and will probably assault her later. Maybe this is just saying F you to someone without any hidden meaning. Nevertheless, both sides of this debate have been accusing the other side of being sick, either for seeing the suggestive content or for not seeing anything wrong with the images. Unfortunately, Melanie herself has been unsurprisingly silent about this issue. She's neither trying to clarify her intentions nor apologizing for making such triggering art. And that's such an irony, considering she claims to make music that helps people heal from their trauma.
In other people's shoes. So even with like making my music and my art, like I said, like my main goal is to like, even since I was like 14 and I first started writing music, I just knew for a fact that like it was my purpose in life to try to create music and art that can help people heal or that can be used as some form of therapy, because that's what music and art has done for me throughout my life. So
yeah. Oh, what an irony, Melanie. Another reason why I think this book hasn't been canceled yet is that this wasn't the reaction when the book was released in 2016. Remember when I said Melanie turned her first album into a storybook? Well, that book had all these images, with each image representing a track on the Crybaby album. This includes the F word, the bath one, and the wolf one. Since the album became such a huge success, consequently the storybook became popular nationwide. This success prompted Melanie to release a coloring book, which contains all the images in the storybook and more. At that time, nobody called the book out for being inappropriate or suggestive. Instead, the book had very high ratings across different platforms, with an overwhelming majority of people giving it a 5-star rating. Besides, the book was marketed to Melanie's fan base and adult audience, so the people knew not to buy this book for their kids, and they also understood the context for each image. These are some positive reviews from fans who bought the book. This person clearly mentioned in their review that this is not a children's book, before going on to say that it is a very accurate representation of the album. Another reviewer also warned that this is not a children's book before recommending it to all of Melanie's fans. These kinds of positive feedback make you wonder what has changed over the years. Why did it take people 9 years to figure out these images may not be as innocent as they appeared to be? Or are people only reacting that way now because they're taking it out of context? To properly answer this question, we must go back to the beginning and re-examine the entire Crybaby concept: the album, the storybook, and then the coloring book. Remember, this is not a Melanie fan video. I'm just giving you the facts, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Melanie introduced Crybaby to the world in August 2015 when she released her debut studio album, titled Crybaby.
Crybaby. Well, okay, so see, this is the thing. It's more of like a fairy tale, but like I definitely relate to Crybaby. It's personal for sure, but there are some stories that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
And like, so it's definitely like a more fairy tale version of me.
To the world, Crybaby was Melanie's alter ego. Just like other artists like Eminem have Slim Shady, Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, David Bowie has Ziggy Stardust, and Tyler the Creator has Wolf Haley and Igor. However, to Melanie, Crybaby was much more than that.
I wanted to name my album Crybaby because when I was younger I was made fun of for, being super over emotional and kind of, crazy, and so, I wanted to kind of turn the word crybaby into a compliment rather than an insult.
From the onset, she has also mentioned that her inspiration for Crybaby was combining adult-related subjects with childhood themes.
Just like the whole inspiration was like childhood themes and pairing that with adult situations. So whether it was something that I went through or someone else went through, it always had to be like an adult, like an adult story at the core of the song. And like the outside, like the facade was kind of like this like bubblegum, like pastel, like little kid, like kind of, coating around it, I guess. And so like I would just think of titles like Dollhouse and Carousel and Milk and Cookies and Tag You're It and all these like little kid, things or themes, and I would just think of things to relate it to in my life, whether if I was going through it at that moment or just stories that I would make up.
She also went on to explain that Crybaby's story is meant to take the audience on an empowering journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance while exploring trauma, vulnerability, and toxic relationships.
So like basically the album is called Crybaby, and it's this character based off of myself. And, she's like a little girl, and it's like just telling the story of like her, in the beginning she's like super vulnerable and she's really insecure, and then as time passes and as she goes through really crazy things, like she gets kidnapped and like she escapes and like poisons him with like milk and cookies and stuff, and like just like stuff like that, she becomes stronger and more confident in her own skin.
Now let's check out the album and see whether Melanie really achieved her objective of creating an inspiring story or not. The first track on the album is Crybaby. This is the beginning of Crybaby's story, introducing us to the character and expressing her sadness and vulnerability. The music video even showed Crybaby being born. The song had lyrics such as, "You seem to replace your brain with your heart. You take things so hard, and then you fall apart. You try to explain, but before you can start, those crybaby tears come out of the dark." In the chorus, she sang, "They call you crybaby, crybaby, but you don't care. Crybaby, crybaby, so you laugh through your tears. Crybaby, crybaby, because you don't care. Tears fall to the ground, we'll just let them drown." In the storybook, Crybaby is depicted as a child with tears streaming down her eyes while she's standing in a pool of her own tears. The poem accompanying the image reads, "Saddest girl she has to be. Salty tears stream down her cheek. Her heart's bigger than her body. Her name is Crybaby." The second track is Dollhouse, Melanie's debut single. Dollhouse gives an insight into Crybaby's family, how everything looks perfect on the outside, but it's all a mess on the inside.
House was just like how everyone has their problems and you're never gonna truly see them, like there's always gonna be this kind of like front to everything, so you think that things are perfect, but everyone has, shit that they go through, so
Some lyrics from the song are, "We'll be a perfect family. When you walk away is when we really play. You don't hear me when I say, Mom, please wake up. Dad's with a slut, and your son is smoking cannabis." In the chorus, she sang, "Places, places, get in your places. Throw on your dress and put on your doll faces. Everyone thinks we're perfect. Please don't let them look through the curtains." And in the post-chorus, she said, "Dollhouse, I see things that nobody else sees." In the book, The image depicting Dollhouse shows Crybaby in her room while her brother is smoking cannabis, her mother is passed out drunk, and her father is cheating with another woman. This is exactly what she's saying in her song lyrics. The poem on the image reads, "And in her picture-perfect home, Moma's drunk while daddy moans. Her brother always comes home stoned. She watches in her room alone." Now, it is worth mentioning that despite Crybaby being a fictional version of Melanie, Crybaby's life is not a reflection of hers. Unlike Crybaby, Melanie had a wonderful family.
Different than hers. So I had a really great childhood, and like my family's super supportive and always has been, so very different. And
the next song, Sippy Cup, is a sequel to Dollhouse, and it shows how things took a darker turn in Crybaby's life. The music video shows Crybaby's alcoholic mother drinking herself into a stupor when her husband suddenly arrived with another woman. The two consenting adults went on to do what adults do, while the drunk woman struggles to get up. When she realized that her husband had cheated on her, she went crazy. In an insane show of strength, she overpowered both of them, tied them up, and eventually ended up taking their lives brutally. When Crybaby came downstairs and discovered the bodies, her mother choked her out with chloroform. Then she chained her to her bed and drugged her with a sippy cup. In the chorus of the song, Melanie sang, "Blood still stains when the sheets are washed. Don't sleep when the lights are off. Kids are still depressed when you dress them up, and syrup is still syrup in a sippy cup." The book depicts this song by showing Crybaby clutching a sippy cup that's the size of her body, with 3 adult shadows looming over her. The accompanying poem reads, "She watches Mama sip a drink out of a sippy cup that's pink. Because of that, you'd never think that she'd pass out under the sink." The next track, Carousel, explores a love theme as it tells the story of Crybaby going to a carnival and falling in love with a boy.
Carousel is her first love encounter. So it's like the first boy that she falls in love with, and she realizes that it's kind of, doing this the whole time, and she feels like she's kind of just stuck in the same place with him, and she can't really grow or go anywhere.
In the song, she describes Crybaby's first love encounter by saying, "Round and round like a horse on a carousel we go. Will I catch up to love? I can never tell. I know chasing after you is like a fairy tale, but I feel like I'm glued on tight to this carousel." In the book, this is of course depicted by showing Crybaby on a horse on a carousel and reaching out to the boy she likes, but he's out of her reach. The poem reads, "The carnival is where she fell for the first time on the carousel. Round and round through the same hell, she never gets under his shell." The next song, Alphabet Boy, belongs to the first controversial image. The story in this song directly follows Carousel. It shows Crybaby's decision to cut things off with the boy she fell in love with. Although Melanie has confessed in an interview that the song was not only Crybaby's breakup song, but also hers too.
The next song after that is her breakup song, and it's Alphabet Boy. And Alphabet Boy for me was inspired by an actual relationship, me wanting to basically say you to a dude that broke my heart. It was one of the hardest songs to write just because it was super lyrical.
In another interview, she explained, "I wanted to title it Alphabet Boy because he was in college for music and used to try and teach me how to write songs as if there was a formula or I wasn't writing songs correctly. It made me furious, and I just wanted to elaborate on that." To express how she felt, she sang, "I know my ABCS, yet you keep teaching me. I say, f your degree, Alphabet Boy. You think you're smarter than me with all your bad poetry. Fuck all your ABCs, Alphabet Boy." This song provides the context for the image in the storybook. You see Crybaby lying on the floor with ABC blocks, in front of a fridge with the words "you" hanging on it. The poem reads, "She cried until she then could see that he wasn't even worthy of all her love and ABCS, so she spelt you in 123. The next song, Soap, which is also depicted by another controversial image. You know that feeling when you confess your feelings to someone for the very first time, and you don't know whether they'll reciprocate that feeling or ghost you forever? That is how Crybaby felt in this song.
After that is Soap, and in my life, this is when I, started talking to a new boy. It was really hard for me to explain or tell him how I felt because I was scared of how he would react. So I just felt like I needed to wash out my mouth with soap and constantly hide how I felt.
After saying the word love and confessing her true feelings, she wished she never said anything and wanted to wash her mouth with soap. The lyrics of the song explains it best in the chorus when she said, "I feel it coming out my throat. Guess I better wash my mouth with soap. God, I wish I never spoke. Now I gotta wash my mouth with soap." And that led to this image of the Crybaby in a bathtub with soap in her mouth. The poem alongside it says, "She met a new boy and was filled with hope. She said too much and always choked, so she washed her mouth with soap so that he wouldn't pull the rope." Surprisingly, the next song on the album is Training Wheels, the first love song Melanie ever wrote. In the song, Crybaby has overcome shyness and expressed her desire to be in a relationship with the new boy.
Wheels is the love song of the album, and it's like the only real love song that I've ever written. Genuinely, I was very happy when writing it in the moment, which is a very rare emotion to express in my music. It's always usually sad or angry, or just because music is like therapy for me, and that's kind of how I just get rid of those emotions.
Training wheels are attached to bicycles as a safety precaution for cyclists, so when they get older and become more experienced and confident, they can take them off. However, in this song, Crybaby offers to help the boy take off his training wheels. She uses training wheels as a metaphor for his fear of commitment, urging the boy to be bold and vulnerable with her. "This is why," she said, "you've been riding two-wheelers all your life. It's not like I'm asking to be your wife. I want to make you mine, but that's hard to say. Is this coming off in a cheesy way?" This is perfectly depicted in the book, as you can see Crybaby with a spanner, loosening the training wheels from her love interest's bicycle. The poem also says, "They rode their bikes so very slow. She wanted more as they got close, unscrewed his training wheels to grow into a two-wheel bicycle." At this point, it looks like things are about to get better for Crybaby again, but Melanie had no intention of letting that happen. So, everything fell apart for her all over again in the next song, Pity Party.
She invites him to her birthday party and pity party, and he doesn't show up, and neither does any of her friends, so she just goes crazy and completely just destroys her own party. I wrote that song with Cara.
After pouring her heart out in a love song for the boy she loves on the previous track, Crybaby invites him to her birthday party. She invited some of her friends, too, expecting a fun day of festivities. However, when the day came, neither the boy nor her friend showed up. Not even one person came to celebrate with her. With a broken heart, she sang, "Did my invitations disappear? Why'd I put my heart on every cursive letter? Tell me why the hell no one is here. Tell me what to do to make it all feel better." This made her lose her mind, and she ended up destroying her own party. The book perfectly depicts this song in a meaningful way by showing Crybaby sitting alone at her party. You can see the dolls are torn up, the balloons are on fire, and Crybaby is crying once again. The poem reads, "Her birthday was around the bend. She invited him and all her friends, none of which did attend. Her happiness came to an end." This heartbreaking event led to the song behind this highly inappropriate image of Crybaby being kidnapped by a wolf. In Tag, You're It, Crybaby has once again become a vulnerable and lonely little girl after suffering a heartbreak from the boy she loves and abandonment by her friends. This leads to her being an easy prey for predators. In the music video, the big bad wolf drives around the streets in his ice cream truck looking for vulnerable children, and when he finally finds one, it turns out to be Crybaby. The use of the big bad wolf archetype makes it clear that this song is a metaphor for the grooming, abduction, and sexual assault of children. The villain driving around in a truck is a similar modus operandi of sexual predators who drive around in vans and lurk around playgrounds and schools in search of vulnerable kids. While there are no explicit descriptions of Crybaby's fate beyond the kidnapping, some intentionally ambiguous lines are open to some dark and disturbing interpretations. In the second verse of the song, after Crybaby has been kidnapped by the wolf, Melanie sang, "Little bit of poison in me, I can taste your skin in my teeth." The poison mentioned here could be referring to a drug used by the wolf on its victim. After all, the music video shows Crybaby passing out after taking a bite from the ice cream. Alternatively, the sexual assault victim might use poison to refer to her captor's semen, which has been forced into her body without consent. In the same vein, the phrase, "taste your skin in my teeth," could either be from the victim biting her captor while fighting him off, or it might imply oral assault in the aftertaste of her violation. Seeing as this is a story of kidnapping and assault, the suggestiveness of this image becomes more intentional rather than a misinterpretation. The poem on this page reads, "A lonely girl so vulnerable. To her house she walks alone. The bad wolf ice cream man had known and took her to his awful home." It's clear from both the poem and the image that a horrible experience awaits Crybaby after her abduction. The next song, Milk and Cookies, is a continuation of the Crybaby story after being assaulted by the wolf. This song tells how she poisons the wolf with milk and cookies, allowing her to escape from him. While the music video shows Crybaby preparing the cookies and adding some poison to it, the lyrics also reveal Crybaby's intentions. The pre-chorus specifically says, "Do you like my cookies? They're made just for you. A little bit of sugar, but lots of poison too." In the book, you can see the wolf choking on some milk and cookies, while Crybaby runs out of the door to her freedom. The poem reads, "She got locked up and made a plan to kill the bad wolf ice cream man. He ordered her to make him snacks. Her cookies and milk made him collapse." Although this story is dark, it is a tale of strength as the victim fights back and regains her freedom. It is also worth mentioning that Crybaby didn't sit around waiting to be rescued, but instead she saved herself. And that might be the type of empowering message Melanie was trying to get across in her own dark, twisted way.
Antagra is where Crybaby gets kidnapped by the big bad wolf, and Milk and Cookies is the next song, and that is where she poisons him with milk and cookies and kills him and escapes. That kind of is like a turning point in the story for her, and that's where she becomes a little bit more insane, obviously, from all the experiences that she's had, but she, I think becomes a little bit more comfortable with who she is and how crazy and emotional she is.
Just as Melanie explained, this marks a turning point in Crybaby's story because she has been through the worst and has come out stronger. From this moment onward, she would no longer be more confident in herself and no longer care what other people think. In the next song, Pacify Her, Crybaby has become an entirely different person. Her past experience has made her crazy, and she's come to terms with that. She's no longer naive and doesn't believe in love anymore. In fact, rather than fall in love with someone else again, she steals another girl's man just to be a homewrecker. This shows that Crybaby has lost all hope in being in a happy relationship, so she resorts to ruining other people's happiness. Can we also take a moment to observe the irony of this story? Remember that the catalyst for Crybaby's family falling apart was her father having an affair with another woman. And now, Crybaby has become the other woman. She justifies her action in the song by saying, "Someone told me, stay away from things that aren't yours, but was he yours if he wanted me so bad?" In the book, Crybaby looks like a bully as she sticks a pacifier in the mouth of another scared little girl. The poem reads, "She escaped and was never the same. She swayed a boy who had been claimed and pacified. Oh, what's her name? Not out of love, just played a game." The next track on the album is Mrs. Potato Head, which talks about plastic surgery and how it can negatively affect the people trying to make themselves look pretty. At this point in Crybaby's story, she's already accepting herself for who she is. She's also becoming more confident and comfortable in her own skin. This forms the basis of her opinion, and she refuses to buy into the facade of artificial beauty. In the song, she asks, "Oh, Mrs. Potato Head, tell me, is it true that pain is beauty? Does a new face come with a warranty? Will a pretty face make it better?" When talking about this track, Melanie made it clear that she's not shaming people who decide to get plastic surgery. Instead, she's just passing a message across that changing your look will not fix your insecurities, as that comes from a much deeper place.
Because that wasn't the point. The whole point was changing how you look isn't going to fix your insecurities. That comes from like a way deeper place. So I just wanted to write a song really that would remind myself and others that, we're beautiful the way that we naturally are.
The image used to depict this song is Crybaby watching Mrs. Potato Head on the TV screen. You would notice from this image that Mrs. Potato Head doesn't look cute at all. And I think that's intentional as it reflects that the woman doesn't know what it means to be truly beautiful. The poem reads, "One day she turned on the TV, Mrs. Potato on the screen, showing off her surgeries. She thought that her pain meant beauty." Finally, the last song on the official album, Mad Hatter. This song reflects Crybaby's growth and her final form. At this stage, she understands who is. She accepts it and is proud of herself.
To that song anymore just because I don't care about that boy anymore, so it's really funny talking about it. After that is Soap, and in my life this is when I started talking to a new boy. It was really hard for me to explain.
Conclusion, Crybaby is crazy. She knows it, and she loves that about herself. The song repeatedly drives this point with lyrics such as, "I'm nuts, baby, I'm mad. The craziest friend that you've ever had." Then she goes on to say, "So, what if I'm crazy? The best people are. All the best people are crazy. All the best people are." You can see how this craziness is portrayed in the book. Not only is Crybaby looking insane, but everything else is running away from her now. This can be interpreted as saying that she doesn't need any of those things anymore to feel good about herself. She is enough, and it doesn't matter that she's crazy. The poem here reads, Crybaby sat and disagreed. Imperfect, insane, and emotional was she, but she feels safe going to sleep, and there's no one else that she'd rather be. And that concludes the story of Crybaby in the official Crybaby album. The storybook included one more page to show Crybaby at the end of her story, in contrast to Crybaby at the beginning of the story. In summary, the Crybaby album is the story of how Crybaby went from a weak, vulnerable child to becoming self-confident and empowered after healing through heartbreak, trauma, and abuse.
Crazy. What would you say is kind of the story with this album from beginning to end? What's the message or story you want to tell?
It's definitely like the story of like this like girl's life, and her name is like Crybaby.
Okay.
It's like the transformation from like Crybaby to like how she becomes more comfortable and crazy and like embraces the crazy. And so it's just like the whole, like just a bunch of that she goes.
Now that we've seen the context behind the Crybaby coloring book, let's take a deep dive into the art itself. Melanie has famously named Mark Ryden and Nicoletta Ceccoli as her favorite visual artists. Mark Ryden is an American painter who is considered the godfather of pop surrealism. He makes art like this, 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 and this. Nicoletta Ceccoli, on the other hand, is a Sammarinese artist who is famous for her richly detailed, dreamlike work. She makes paintings like this, 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 and this. Since she drew inspiration from these artists, it's no wonder that her art is similar to theirs. However, Melanie didn't draw the images in the book by herself. The illustrations in the are made by American artist Chloe Tersigni, who also specializes in making dark fairy tale and whimsical art. Although Chloe has worked as a children's book illustrator, the Crybaby storybook and coloring book were clearly not for children. Now, to answer the questions on your mind, are the drawings in the book inappropriate? Yes. The fact that these images can be interpreted in a context makes them inappropriate regardless of whether they were intended for adults or children. Was it intentional? Yes. The ambiguity of those images are very likely intentional, just like some of the lyrics of the songs. And don't forget what Melanie said about blending adult topics with childhood themes.
The whole inspiration was like childhood themes and pairing that with adult situations. So whether it was I was really inspired by toy sounds, and that's what sparked the kind of want to have this childhood facade over this like adult, more mature kind of sub.
Is Crybaby CSAM? No, it's not. While the images are ambiguous, the suggestiveness is well hidden by the camouflage of childlike imagery, and nothing about them is sexually explicit, so it doesn't qualify as child sexual abuse material or child pornography. Aside from the illustrations in the book, Melanie has also faced criticism from people who accused her of romanticizing trauma and abuse by singing and writing about things she never even experienced herself. Here's what Melanie said to justify that.
People struggling with depression or anxiety or, how they look.
And those are all things that you've struggled with yourself.
No, actually. The record is a mix of kind of like there's, Dollhouse, for example. I had a great family life, but I had friends who didn't, have the same situation at home, and it's really important for people, even if it's not like a huge group of people in the world who have these issues, like they still need music to connect to and relate to. I just love making music that people, can connect to in that way.
Unfortunately for Melanie, the controversies surrounding her are beyond her music and artistry. This next topic is one that has ended the careers of people more famous than Melanie Martinez, the likes of R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, and even Kevin Spacey. Yes, I'm referring to the sexual assault allegation by Melanie's former best friend, Timothy Heller. In 2017, the Me Too movement gained global traction after explosive allegations were published against Harvey Weinstein, prompting a cascade of similar accusations against powerful figures across multiple industries. It was a period of empowerment for sexual assault victims to speak up against the powerful figures who silenced them for years. The movement wasn't just a hashtag, it was a reckoning. Perhaps feeling empowered by the growing solidarity among survivors, Timothy Heller was inspired to speak out about her own experience. As a result, she made a post on Twitter in November 2017 saying, what if I have my own story of abuse, but I'm scared to ruin the person's life, and I still love them in a up way, and the public really, really loves them and most probably wouldn't believe me. I need advice. This made people curious, and they encouraged her to share her story with the world. So, On December 4th, 2017, she took to Twitter to share her story. She posted the story as screenshots, but the caption said, "When I wrote this story about my assault, I initially wasn't going to make the abuser. But I think it's important for you all to know this is about Melanie Martinez." She started off by saying, "I've kept this secret for years, convincing myself that it wasn't a big deal, and I wasn't hurt by it. The thought of accepting that my best friend raped me seems insane." She explained that she didn't understand that what had happened to her was a sexual assault until she joked about it to the people closest to her. The responses she got were different from what she expected, but it opened her eyes to the truth. Timothy wrote, "It's hard to say someone you loved raped you, someone you still love." Although she had initially planned not to reveal the person's name, she hinted that the person was a female public figure who was beloved and had a loyal fan base. However, we already know from her tweet that it was Melanie Martinez. She claimed that even though Melanie had a good public image, she wasn't a good friend. She took advantage of Timothy's weakness and dependency to exert power and control over her, making Timothy unable to turn her down. The story of her assault began one night during a sleepover when Melanie suddenly expressed interest in Timothy's preferences. Being a survivor of abuse, Timothy felt uncomfortable with the topic, but she tried to be open with her best friend. Melanie cleverly steered the conversation to asking if Timothy would engage sexually with her. Timothy laughed it off, only to discover that she wasn't joking. She didn't even care that Timothy had a boyfriend. She desperately wanted to sleep with her so much that she began to beg Timothy for it. Although nothing happened that night, Melanie was relentless in asking her again the second night. It didn't matter that Timothy turned her down the previous night. She was determined to get her way and knew exactly how to do that. Melanie offered her some weed as she continued to press Timothy to have sex with her. Timothy claimed she said every form of no she could think of, but Melanie wasn't taking that for an answer. At some point, she started touching Timothy's arm in a non-sexual way at first. Timothy felt uncomfortable, but then it got ticklish, and she started giggling. Then Melanie started talking about how juicy Timothy's breasts were. Okay, maybe she didn't use the word juicy, but she kept talking about Timothy's boobs and begging to let her touch it. When she promised that all she wanted to do was touch Timothy's breasts and nothing more, Timothy had become high, confused, and tired of turning her down. So she just laid there and let it happen. She never said yes, but she had said no so many times that she was exhausted. In her own words, "I was so exhausted and confused and high and belittled, I just allowed it to happen. This led to her touching the rest of me. I never said yes, I said no, repeatedly, but she used her power over me and broke me down. Just so there is no confusion, I was molested by my best friend." Timothy said she lay there in shock, without reciprocating as Melanie performed oral sex on her and penetrated her with toy without her consent. Of course, it didn't matter that she didn't resist the action because she was already broken. What mattered was that she had said no multiple times, but her choice was not respected. She mentioned that their friendship ended shortly after that with a flimsy excuse from Melanie. But that's a common trait of most abusers. After having their way, they become disgusted with their victims and push them away. Timothy ended this revelation by saying, "Girls rape girls. Best friends can best friends. Friendship does not equal consent. Silence doesn't equal consent." When she posted this, it shook the internet. Melanie was everyone's sweetheart, and her fan base is like a cult following. Although Timothy received encouraging comments like these, Melanie's die-hard fans soon flooded her comments, saying things like, "Where's your proof? It's Melanie," and blaming Timothy for letting herself be assaulted. Someone even said she could have stopped Mel. I'm pretty sure Melanie is not as strong as a man, but no, she let it go on for hours. Not many people believed Timothy. To them, Melanie was a saint. She could do no wrong. They didn't even wait to hear Melanie's side of the story before defending her. That night, Melanie responded to the allegation with a tweet. She said, "I am horrified and saddened by the statements and story told tonight by Timothy Heller. What she and I shared was a close friendship for a period of time. We came into each other's lives as we were both starting our careers as artists, and we tried to help each other. We both had pain in dealing with our individual demons and the new paths we were forging, but I truly felt we were trying to lift each other up. She never said no to what we chose to do together, and although we parted ways, I am sending her love and light always." Now hold on a second. She never said no? Two things are wrong with this statement. Firstly, it is an admission that something sexual happened between Melanie and Timothy. Secondly, this is the default defense accused predators make to claim that the act was consensual. However, to Melanie's fans, that was enough to prove her innocence. Newsweek interviewed Timothy Heller the next day about her allegations against Melanie, giving her the platform to shed more light on the matter. In the interview, Timothy revealed that Melanie had tried to stop her from sharing her story after she made her initial tweet in November. She claimed that Melanie called her about 20 minutes after the tweet, even though she hadn't heard from Melanie for more than a year. Timothy said she started crying when she saw Melanie's call and blocked her. It was obvious to her that Melanie was trying to silence her. When Melanie couldn't get through to Timothy, she contacted Timothy's boyfriend at the time. She sent him messages saying she was inspired to call Timothy after having a dream about her and suggested that Timothy requested the services of a healer. In addition, Timothy presented this picture, saying it was taken on the day of the assault. She noted that the alleged date was June 25th, 2015. You would notice in the picture that Melanie was blindfolded and in cuffs. According to Timothy, that's because they were playing a game, but Melanie took the game too seriously. In the days following the allegation, there are discourses all over the internet with people debating whether Timothy is telling the truth or lying. While this was ongoing, Madeline Carina, a makeup artist who was once friends with Melanie, came forward to share a similar experience. In her tweet, she said that Mel begged her over and over again to sleep with her until she finally agreed. In her case, Melanie wore her down with her incessant demands, pressuring her into giving consent. Stella Rose, an actress who played the role of Crybaby's mother in the music video, also voiced her opinion on the scandal. She made a tweet saying, "When someone you already knew was shitty gets called out for being even shittier than you thought. If you need me, I'll be over here processing a weird mixture of frustration and relief." She made another tweet hinting at Melanie's alleged narcissistic behavior, and then one more tweet to proclaim her stand with Timothy Heller, stating that her decision is based on her personal experience with Melanie. Another makeup artist, Allison Balchi, who was friends with Melanie, also tweeted her support for Timothy. While Melanie's friends and associates are expressing their support for Timothy the victim, Melanie's fans remain unwavering in their loyalty. They picked apart Timothy's testimony, calling out inconsistencies in her stories and accusing Timothy of being a liar. They also began to attack Timothy online, flooding her comment section with negative comments, abuses, and threats.
For fame. I was a small musician at the time, and after speaking out, gained tens of thousands of followers. While there were some supporters, the majority of the followers were people who actively hated me. I suddenly had thousands of hate accounts dedicated to me, thousands of dislikes and negative comments on all of my music, and completely ridiculous fabricated stories of me being posted online. I really hoped it would die out and people who liked me would stick around and I'd be able to move on with my career, but it never died.
A few days after Timothy posted her story, Melanie decided to make another statement on the matter. She tweeted, "I understand how hard it could be to see my side of the story, considering no one with a heart would want to invalidate anyone speaking up about this topic. I want to thank my fans who took the time to research the timeline, analyze past Instagram photos, and question the story being told, which reveal her false statements. I trusted so many people in my life who took advantage of that trust for their own personal gain. Please know that my intentions with everything that I do in my life are always pure, and I would never be intimate with someone without their absolute consent." Now that sounds like an outright denial. Mind you, she's not saying explicitly that nothing will happen between her and Timothy, but her last sentence states that if intimacy happened, it was completely consensual. Later that month, she released a single track titled Piggyback through her SoundCloud account. The song talks about the fake friends in Melanie's life and how they only used her for her fame. Some of the lyrics sounded like shots at Timothy and Melanie's associates who supported her. In the second verse of the song, she said, "Trusted too many fake people while I was still young. Gave the benefit of the doubt. I was so wrong. I cut them off and they came for blood, 'cause they know they ain't getting no more." In the chorus, she sang, "I'm so done with playing piggyback. Swear to God I wished y'all all the best. You're lying your way to try to gain a piece of me when you could never come close 'cause I know my destiny." She also added, "Now you're trying to kill my name for some fame. What is this? Tried to help you do your shit, encouraged you to work on it, was a good friend, and you used that to your advantage." Undoubtedly, those are directed at Timothy Heller. Since then, Melanie has zipped her mouth shut about the entire thing and moved on. But Timothy hasn't. She couldn't. She's the victim here, allegedly.
And while I wish I was the type of person with the confidence to say, "F the haters and stick it out," I'm just not. I'm sensitive and not self-confident and never have been. And this made it so much worse.
It's been 8 years since, yet there's still a debate about which of them is lying. Since we're dealing with facts only in this video, let's examine the arguments from both sides and see if we can arrive at a verdict. First off, let's look at things from Timothy's point of view. Melanie wore her out by incessantly begging her for 2 consecutive nights. When it finally happened, she never said yes, and she didn't reciprocate. Melanie's first tweet confirmed that something sexual happened between them. but she claimed it was consensual. Now let's look at some of the arguments that have been made over the years to refute Timothy's claims. At first, the major issue people raised with Timothy's story was the timeline of the event. Although Timothy had said it happened on June 25th, 2015, fans were able to dig out a post made by Melanie on that day on IG where she said she was returning to LA. Some people were trying to say that the timeline didn't make sense, and that since Melanie was not in town, there was no sexual contact between them. Personally, I think that's not a valid point. We've already established based on the two ladies' account that there was indeed an intercourse between them. It didn't matter whether it happened on June 25th or December 25th. The only question now is whether or not it is consensual. By the way, here's what Timothy said about the date in a live interview with one of Melanie's fans who really wanted to know the truth.
Okay, so the only reason that I told Newsweek that it was on the 25th is because I remember posting that picture of me with the half black and half purple wig the day after. But it was 2 years ago, and I could very well be wrong. Maybe I posted it a couple days later, and I don't know, like, there's so many, like, possibilities, but, like, that's what I remembered. It's definitely around that time. And also, Melanie didn't say that it never happened.
There have also been reports about Timothy's account being hacked, and some of Melanie's diehard fans using Photoshop and other underhanded tactics to spread lies. Nevertheless, you can trust us in this video to omit all that misinformation here, giving you only actual facts. Speaking of facts, some people have really taken their time to pick apart Timothy's statement for inconsistencies and false claims that might make her testimony sound completely unbelievable. Most of the inconsistencies revolve around this picture and a very important piece of information that Timothy left out of her original story. While this picture is proof that the sleepover did in fact happen, it was also the proof that Timothy and Melanie played a sexual game that involved handcuffs and blindfolds that night. Although Timothy's very detailed story didn't mention the game they played that night, she told Newsweek that they played a flirtatious game, but then Melanie took things too seriously. Please note that Timothy said Melanie suggested they played the game. However, in that live interview Timothy did, she changed her statement and said she was the one who picked the game because she thought it would be fun.
That day we had gone to a thrift store, and there was just this, like, silly, like, old, like, kit that was like a feather tickler and like handcuffs and like those dice that say like kiss leg and those things, and I was like, oh my god, that's so funny, like, let's get it, but then we started playing it, and I was like doing funny rolls on the dice, like lick elbow, but then she like wanted to do as on.
Now, of course, there's no problem with Timothy suggesting they played that game, and it in no way justifies her being assaulted. But these people pointed out that for someone who was uncomfortable talking about sex, it was weird that she wanted to play a sexual game that's meant to enhance intimacy. Also, people found the game Timothy and Melanie played that night. It's this game, or at least something similar based on the picture Timothy provided and the details of the game she provided. This kit comes with a pair of handcuffs, a blindfold, feather tickler, and a pair of dirty dice. The way it works is someone wears the handcuff and blindfold, while the other person throws the dice to determine their action. One of the dice is labeled with body parts, while the other one contains actions that a player must do to that body part. Sounds similar to what Timothy said, doesn't it?
Then we started playing it, and I was like doing funny rolls on the dice, like lick elbow, but then she like...
I know you must be thinking now that this doesn't justify her getting assaulted, and I totally agree. However, people have also pointed out another inconsistency in Timothy's story in relation to this game. Multiple times in her story, Timothy mentioned how she really just wanted to sleep because she had work in the morning. She also mentioned that she was trying to sleep when Melanie began to touch her. But the truth is that she wasn't trying to sleep at that time because they were playing the game. This is confirmed in Timothy's statement when she said they were just having fun, but Melanie began to take things too far.
But then she like, wanted to do as on.
Yeah.
It is also quite possible that all that tickling and giggling she did, and Melanie's questions on whether or not she can touch Timothy's body, were because of the game they were playing together. Remember, the purpose of this analysis is not to prove Melanie's innocence, or accuse Timothy of lying. We're simply examining the two sides of the argument, so we can arrive at a conclusion. And that brings us to the verdict. Who is lying? The truth is that we'll never know. Maybe Melanie is telling the truth and they agreed to do what they did together. Or maybe Timothy is telling the truth and she just wanted to have fun, but Melanie took it too far and assaulted her. Or maybe they're both telling the truth from their perspectives. As long as both ladies are sticking to their stories, we'll never know what really happened during that sleepover. Nonetheless, it is worth noting that it is quite sad to see such a beautiful friendship end in such a messy way.
Nice to know ya, let's do it again. How we ended in a one night stand. Maybe wanna be more than a friend. Do ya?
Unfortunately for Melanie Martinez, her friendship with Timothy Heller wasn't the only relationship that has ended in such a terrible manner. In fact, her recent breakup with her previous boyfriend, Verde, became such a big deal that it almost cost Melanie her entire fan base. Everyone loves a good love story, and Melanie's fans are no exception, so it's not surprising that they are so invested in their favorite artist's love life. And among all of Melanie's boyfriends over the years, the one her fans seem to like the most is this guy, Justin Greenwood, also known as Verde. See, Melanie and Verde met each other in 7th grade and have been friends for a very long time. Between the years 2020 and 2022, they both had several photo shoots together, which made people believe they were dating. On March 29, 2022, Melanie confirmed the rumors when she posted this very intimate video of her and Verde.
Still going strong. You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong.
Melanie's fans believed they were the perfect couple, and, to be honest, they looked cute together. People thought they would last forever. During their relationship, it wasn't uncommon for fans to make posts like this, saying they wouldn't believe in love anymore if these two ever broke up. I guess Melanie also thought they would last forever when she made this post on Verde's birthday, with the caption, "Happy birthday to the most beautiful human. I've had the biggest crush on you since we were 11 years old. My first kiss and my last. I love you so much." Verde has also made similar posts to express his love for Melanie, like on April 1st, 2023, when he made a post to promote the Portals album that was released the previous day. He wrote, "In like 07 or 08, I met this girl who loved to draw and write songs on her guitar. It's so crazy to remember watching you play your songs for me and our friends, to now watching you perform for 80,000 people. Congratulations to the most talented, loving, inspiring, and patient human I've ever met." Unfortunately, destiny had other plans for the couple. On February 20th, 2025, Melanie suddenly unfollowed Verde on Instagram. Verde also deleted some of their pictures and videos together from his Instagram. This made the fans realize there was trouble in paradise. 2 days later, Melanie confirmed the breakup when she responded to a comment on Instagram saying, "We've been broken up. I don't want to make a big deal of it. I'd appreciate it if you guys could just move on. We wish each other well." The fans were saddened by this news, but they respected the couple's wishes and didn't make a big deal of it. That was until Melanie suddenly posted this picture on her Instagram story a couple of weeks later. While fans were asking questions about the mysterious man in the picture with Melanie, Verde decided to break the ice. He posted this on his Instagram story. It was a screenshot of Melanie's comment with the caption, "This was Kat, by the way. She got a new boyfriend less than a month after us breaking up." Verde went further to say, "And there is no wishing well from her part. From having her management reach out to me to say I can't sell my books, to her not allowing me to see my dogs. Love her always though, and I get it. Do whatever you need to get over it. We are just humans." Then he ended it with a statement that made Melanie's fans livid. "Never cheated on her either." That last line seemed to imply that Melanie cheated on Verde during their relationship, which would also explain how she'd already gotten a new boyfriend so fast after the breakup. This made her fans angry because it was her fault their perfect relationship was ruined. Also, the fact that she's preventing Verde from seeing his dogs and wouldn't let him sell his books made people realize that she might not be a good person after all. The matter blew up. It escalated to the point where many of Melanie's fans were threatening to exit the fandom. Verde had to make a comment to soothe them. He said, "This was never the point of me voicing my frustration. Continue to be a fan of her. She is a high-level creative and an amazing writer. You guys love her for that, and you only know me because of her. Let her live and leave them both alone. We are only human. I made the mistake of bringing my hurt to the internet, but y'all really running with this in such a way that I don't align with at all." Seeing how he handled that maturely, I think I understand now why Melanie's fans love him. But Verde's comment was not enough to appease the people. After realizing what kind of person their idol was, many fans went to revisit Timothy's allegations and started to believe she might have been telling the truth all along.
The thing is, I never would have commented on this if I wasn't getting the comments that I was, which were hundreds of people saying, "Now I see what you're saying. Now I see that she's a bad person. I'm so sorry." And that's really frustrating. And while I'm like, great.
Timothy's frustration is understandable because whatever Verde experienced in his relationship with Melanie seems so minor and inconsequential compared to what she claimed happened to her. Yet, all it took was Verde's ambiguous Instagram story for them to realize the truth about Melanie. What Timothy didn't realize was that Verde just happened to be an exception. A breakup with Melanie could have been a death sentence, as her toxic fans would harass and bully the unfortunate man into depression. I mean, that was exactly what they did to Oliver Tree. Before Verde and Melanie started dating, Melanie was in a relationship with Oliver Tree from 2019 to 2020. Although the relationship was short-lived, they made a cute couple together and reportedly ended on good terms.
Ow! 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 What are you doing?
That was a horrible prank. Did you just fart?
No. Are you crying?
Yes.
However, Melanie's fans couldn't deal with the breakup. They began to spread rumors about Oliver and flooded his posts with hate comments, just like they did to Timothy Heller after she accused Melanie. You'd see a random Melanie fan posting comments like this, accusing Oliver of being an abusive partner, or this, accusing him of cheating on Melanie. They spread these rumors and hated on Oliver unprovoked, even though there was no proof or public information about their relationship. It got so out of hand that Melanie had to intervene on his behalf. She posted, "Can you guys do me a favor and leave Oliver Tree alone? Please be nice and stop spreading false information. I already told you guys we ended things mutually years ago, on good terms. I've said before how much it upsets me when you guys bully people on the internet. Please stay positive and be kind toward one another." How did her fans respond? They flooded Oliver's post once again, saying things like these. The bullying and harassment only reduced when Melanie started dating Verde. Nevertheless, after Melanie released the Portals album in 2023, her toxic fans began to attack Oliver Tree once again. Their reason this time? They believed that some of the songs on the album were about him. For instance, the track, Evil, is about Melanie realizing the toxicity in her past relationship and how proud she is of leaving them. Some of the lyrics were, "I won't be mistreated. Please call me conceited. Took me way too long to put this to bed. Loving you was lethal. Guess that makes me evil. Evil." These lines suggested that she was being maltreated in a relationship, deeply affecting her mental health and psyche. However, she doesn't mind being called selfish for leaving that relationship. Since rumors were already flying about Oliver Tree being an abusive partner, the fans began to suspect that he was the one she was singing about. One toxic fan even went as far as typing the lyrics of the song under a post by Oliver on Instagram. Some more lyrics that point to the song being about Oliver Tree are, "Said it's all in my head whenever I spoke my truth. No, I won't defend you to all my friends. This time I refuse." Which of her ex-boyfriends did Melanie try to defend? That's right, Oliver Tree had a song titled Revival, where he rapped, "Stacking shit like each brick on my pyramid. I'm angry and bloody like a bitch on her period." So, when Melanie sang on Mooncycle saying, "Why you always act so serious?" I said, "Baby boy, you know I'm on my period." She also said, "I don't gotta act, I'm etherous. I could win a fight on my period. Matter of fact, right now I could build a pyramid. You messing with my cycle, that is dangerous." These words from Melanie sound like a direct response to Oliver Tree, even though his own song is from 2013, so you see why Melanie's fans were speculating that it is about Oliver. Furthermore, we can go on and on breaking down almost every song on the Portals album, analyzing how each one might be referring to Oliver Tree, but Melanie herself has spoken out again on the issue. She said, "Mooncycle isn't about Oliver, it isn't about anyone. This doesn't even make sense. Please stop making things up and leave him alone." Although Melanie defended Oliver Tree from her fans twice, he still suffered considerable damage from their harassment. Here's a video of him finally opening up about the issue in an interview.
And when we broke up...
While we're all feeling bad for Oliver, I want you to imagine this. If he suffered this much damage, despite Melanie defending him multiple times, then how much more did Timothy Heller suffer? Remember that Melanie never tried to stop her fans from bullying or harassing Timothy, even though she knew it was happening. In fact, rather than stop them, she seemed to have encouraged it by thanking her fans for the effort and then insinuating in a song that Timothy was only doing it for fame. Thankfully, it seems that Timothy is finally getting back on her feet after going through therapy.
I was in therapy. I was in it when it happened. I was in it when it happened. I discussed it with my therapist to talk about speaking out about it, and then I was in it 7 years total to survive.
Meanwhile, Melanie has also moved on from her breakup with Verde to another relationship. Shortly after her breakup with Verde, and while her fans were still dealing with the news, Melanie posted this picture with her new boyfriend on her Instagram story. His name is Mojean Aria, an Australian actor, writer, and producer. He played the role of Gether Bax in the Apple TV series C.
Presents. It is customary to kneel. Forgive me, sir, but I'm Gether Bax. It is me who sent you the message to come here.
He also acted as Stray in the 2022 movie The Enforcer. Although Melanie looks happy being in the relationship, many of her fans do not like Mojean. After all, he's probably the reason Melanie broke up with Verde. Meanwhile, the couple have turned blind ears to every controversy surrounding their relationship, focusing on making fun memories and sharing their intimate moments with the world. From the sexual assault allegations against her by Timothy Heller to the accusations that she's promoting child pornography in her artistry, and then the drama surrounding her breakup with Verde, Melanie has lost so many of her precious followers that her fan base is no longer what it used to be. She's no longer the harmless sweetheart the world once knew, or the crybaby everyone could relate to. While some of her fans have simply grown out of love for her, some have directed anger and hate towards her, calling her out online and asking for her to be canceled. Do you think Melanie Martinez deserves the heat she's getting now? Or is she only a victim of the fame and exposure that comes with being a star?